I'm sorry. Can y'all hear the echo? When I speak, it's like an echo.
Okay.
All right. It says, welcome to another edition of Black Man's Thoughts. I'm Yashayahu. Tonight, I wanted to speak to some of the leaders in the Israelite community to see if we can come to a consensus as far as leadership and the direction of our community and what is a realistic vision for our community going forward in the light of everything currently going on. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask a few questions. I'm going to ask the individual first. And after he responds, if anybody ever have any, to add on to it or further insight, just like a presidential debate, that's when you can go ahead and add on. This is not a debate, but this is just a few thoughts, your thoughts on certain topics. Okay. Everybody's going to have 3 minutes to answer. That way we can keep it flowing. Okay.
Okay.
Why is it? All right. Before, I'm not going to do an introduction because that would take too long, man. So I would like everybody just to, tell their names and what state they live in or what state they represent. That way the people watching can understand where some leadership at. Start with Moore and Baruch. I can't hear anything.
Live in Maryland though at the time, so hallelujah. Glad to be here.
Hallelujah. Brother Brandon.
Everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. B. Lawson, Detroit, Michigan, Chosen Seed Assembly, and I'm just want to say shalom to the brother and shalom to all the family that's tuning in and those who aren't. But shalom to you all.
All right, Moore Etan.
Shalom, shalom, more Etan from Fort Worth, Texas. Represent humble Hebrews. I represent the nation, and just ready to get this work in. Hallelujah. Praise to the Most High.
All right, hallelujah. Okay. The first question, well, I would like to say that Dr. Khalid Muhammad, Malcolm X, Dr. King, and many others all have careers and people that depend on them and, wives and so forth. So when a lot of times we'll say, well, I got kids, I got families, I can't do all that. So leadership to me has to be held more, have more of accountability to what's going on. So the first question, this one's to everybody. Do we have leadership in Israel?
I would say yes.
Y'all agree yes?
I would agree that we have leadership. Yeah, just based on different we kind of spread out, but definitely leadership.
Okay.
I would agree. I would say we do have leadership, but I would say it's broken leadership. So yes, I would that would be my answer to that.
Okay, Michael, how you doing? The first question is, do we have leadership in Israel? Morashaya?
Yeah, I can hear that. Kind of figure this thing out.
Do we have leadership in Israel? Just as do you think we have leadership?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, lot of good brothers. I'm Morey Baru, Morey Ethan, Yosef, Morey Samat, Morey Kazaba, Morey Lamaniyahu, Morey Yoel, Morey Saw Nehemiah. Yeah, we definitely have leadership brothers that I know I had labored with. Yes, sir.
Okay. So right before you get on, I'm going to ask everybody a certain question, and sometimes I'm going to ask everybody. This next question is going to be for one person. You're going to have 3 minutes to answer, and that's how we're doing. Okay. Start off with Maury Baruch. What should we expect from a leader?
What should we expect from a leader? In Yisrael, we should expect from a leader, one is him to be a good leader of his own house. And I think that that's where we have failed in leadership, because we have not mastered the very basis of nationhood or community, with being good leaders in our household, being good fathers, being good brothers, being good everything that's related to that. So I think that what we should expect in a good leader is that his household is in order. He's in order and his household is in order. And I think that that is where leadership is failing in some areas in Israel. So that's what I would say you would expect from a good leader. And how do you become a good father in your household? Well, the Torah has already mapped that out. It's really particular and really detailed on how you become a good father or a good husband, good brother in Israel. So I think that that's what we should expect out a good leader, first and foremost, before anything else.
All right, appreciate it. Next question. Morris Shael, you're the second one on the screen. I would say, should the leader live what he preaches? Most leaders have plans, i.e. getting a passport, organizing for their congregation, planning for a community. And should we listen to that more or that teacher if he does not live like that?
No. I mean, as a Moreh, that our job is, as Maury Baruch explained very well, it started with us within our own homes. So when we cannot conduct ourselves as moral good leaders, husbands, protectors, fathers, grandfathers, then how can we stand before the people? In other words, then we are standing before the people very hypocritical and with false motives, which Proverbs 11:1 speaks about. A false balance is abomination to he that causes this.
All right, Brother Brennan. Next question. Is it possible for non-Messianic and Messianic to really start communities?
You said to start communities?
To have a community together.
I think that it's definitely possible. Is it expedient? I would say I would think that it's not expedient, because basically when you start a community, just like we were discussing, as far as like the Amish people go, right? In order to have a separate community, it has to have, basically you have to start with a governing body. And we know that the rules behind our governing body is the law that we keep. That's the foundation of it. But those of us who are, you know, who would hold the title Messianic, of course, that the teachings of the Messiah that don't disagree with Torah would all, you know, which they don't disagree with Torah, but they will also have to be incorporated. But when you have a governing body, and that governing body is made up of people who don't necessarily agree in the foundation of the doctrine, then there are going to be ripples, and it ultimately is going to cause, you know, issues. Can it be started? Yes, it can be started. Is it a good idea? Sure, it's a good idea, but those issues have to be ironed out. You know, if you're going to have community, the definition of community in itself is common unity, and the unity is not common if we believe in different doctrine. You know what I mean? So I think that the foundation of our doctrine, like small things, it's okay to disagree on, because once we striving in brotherhood, those small things can always be sat down and talked about and discussed. But on a large level, Messianic, non-Messianic, those things have to be definitely ironclad before we can have common unity, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because the next question is going to be it's kind of geared towards that. Okay, why is there such a divide, especially if we were going to start a community, when it comes to Torah only and Messianics, when cops are killing us and they don't ask what we believe in? Black men are in prison at an alarming rate. Black marriages are failing. Homosexuality is running rampant in our society. So then, if those are the cases, why would it matter if two brothers who believe in Torah, but one's Torah only, one Messianic, why can't the community work together? More at time. You got to unmute. You got to unmute, brother.
That I got to ask this question. So one thing I want to say is that I don't like the titles Torah only and Messianic. It is because if you're Messianic, you should be Torah only. What else are you following? That's what Yeshua taught. If you're Torah-centered, you can't say you're non-Messianic because there was many Messiahs in the Tanakh. So the nation of Israel is a Torah-centered Messianic nation regardless. I don't care which side of the book you adhere to, you know, so I really don't like those. And I hate that it causes so much divide, you know, because at the end of the day, our duty should be to build as a nation. You know, our people never had the issue of this that we're going through, you know what I'm saying, believing in doctrine, you know what I'm saying. So I think we need to kind of try to strip that away from the community. And that's going to be hard, and a lot of people are not going to agree with that, but that's the only way I see Israel becoming one as a nation, is to just completely, like, especially now, if it's something your personal studies and all that, that's cool. That's cool. Keep, you know, whatever. You know, you got brews that study Islam, you got brews that study, you know, Hinduism, all kinds of other stuff, because personal knowledge. So, you know, what you adhere to on your personal, in your house, you know, as for me in my house, that's cool. But when it comes to us building with each other, that should never be an issue. Because like you said, I actually got a song with that, you know, like when they shooting us in the street, they're not asking us, what do you believe in?
Right.
Who do you serve? They're not asking you that. We look the same, we get treated the same. So we need to unify just the same, you know, and I don't know, you know, but hey, maybe I live in a fantasy world.
Okay, before I move on, does anybody want to add to that, or is everybody good to go on?
Yeah, I just want to back up what Maury Ethan say. I want to give a scripture in the book of Exodus chapter 24 and verse 12. And he that causes to exist say to Moshe, come up to me to the mountain and be there. And I will give thee the tables of stone and the Torah and the commandments which I have written, that thou mayst teach what them. Teach them. And so that's summing up as Maury Ethan was breaking it down. You know, we let terminology and certain phrases separate us, you know, and it should not be.
Okay. More Baruch, did you have anything, or are you good?
I totally agree with what my aunt said, Moray said, because here in VA, we actually have a congregation that they would call, quote unquote, Messianic and Torah only. So what my brother gave, the explanation he gave, was an excellent explanation, understanding that first we must put down, you know, the arrogance and the pride and be able to hear one another. You know what I'm saying? This is just steps in having a relationship. You know, when you meet somebody on the street, you don't approach them and say, man, what do you believe in? What do you know? You build a relationship. It's slow and gradual, and then you'll start to hear each other and hear different points and come to better understanding on different subject matters. So can it be done? Absolutely, it can be done. Just like my Brother Brandon Lawson said, you know, it can be done. You know what I'm saying? It's where the heart of the people is at. If the heart of the people is true in coming together in unity, then it's certain things that you're going to put certain aspects of yourself aside anyway to hear what your brother's saying and come together and build. Like I said, somebody getting beat down on the street, we're not worried about what color t-shirt you got on, what name, you know, what Messianic. We're not worried about that. We come in to help. You know what I'm saying? That's what we should be doing. So absolutely, I totally agree with my.
All right, hallelujah. Okay.
One other thing, Salakli, like man, we have a study group, and we've been studying together for 3.5 years, and it consists of what you would call Messianic Hebrews and Torah only Hebrews. And so, you know, I hold and I'm part of evidence that it can be done. Like Baruch said, it's the mind, you know, it's the mindset of the people. Get your mind right, anything can happen. Shalom on that.
All right, hallelujah. Okay, next question. This is going to be a short answer to everybody, okay? Concerning community living, is it necessary for Israel and your community? Let's just say you have a congregation, for us all to be, I wouldn't hate to say the word compound, or on a certain area where we all dwell together. Is it necessary? That's for everybody. Maury Baruch, you can start.
I think it's not only is it necessary, it's past due. Some of the results of what's going on in our communities that we live in is because we don't have a community. We know we're strongest when we're together. One of the things that Most High told us, I believe is in Yirmiyahu 29, he said to build houses, plant vineyards. You know, and anybody knows the work that goes into building a house. You don't build no house by yourself. You use your brothers to build your house. You build your house, you plant your communities. Then he said, then take wives. So this is what the instructions that he gave through the prophet in captivity to do these things. So and then you study the history of our captivity, you see that all throughout any captivity that we were in, we had communities. We were communities inside of these things. So I think that keeping us apart from each other, or we keeping ourselves away from each other, has actually weakened us in a lot of ways. So is it essential? Is it necessary? Absolutely, community is necessary.
Brother Brandon?
I would agree with that. In order to, so when you say is the community necessary, I'm just assuming that you mean as far as like nation building goes. Is that correct?
I think we have to start small, right? So I'm talking about your individual community. Let's just say Chosen Seed and all of its members coming together under an umbrella and saying, you know what, let's dwell together in it. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, and so is it necessary for us to have an assembly, or for us to be, you know, to reverence the Most High in truth and in the Ruach? I don't think it's absolutely necessary. Is it ideal? Absolutely, it's ideal. We had such a thing when we migrated to Cairo, Egypt, and we all pretty much lived in the same building, or right there in the same area, and we were amongst other nations. We were surrounded by Arabs, you know, but we had our own kind of community for a short time, and it was great, you know. So is it ideal? Absolutely. You know, in order to do, and I agree with Morey Baruch what he just stated, that when he stated just we're the strongest when we're together. Absolutely. So it's ideal for us to build, and ideally we would need to get back to that as believers and in one body, because that's where our strength comes from, and that would be our foundation for community.
Yeah, more Shael.
I mean, I totally agree. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no need for me to add nothing. It's well said.
More at a time.
Okay. I'm all about community.
Okay, I'm glad everybody agreed, because the next question is, have you individually as leaders put together a plan and made a way for this to happen with your own members?
Okay. I go ahead and answer that?
Yeah, y'all can all answer.
Okay.
I'll start with Morey Baruch. Let's start at the top.
Okay.
Yes, let me say this, we were creating a plan. We had a brother of ours had some land, so we were working on some things. Some things fell through due to personalities and, you know, some other things. So we had some problems and some issues with it. But so yes, we did have a plan, but some things fell through. So now I am personally reworking some things on my ends, because I felt that it was essential to restabilize. Like I said, the nucleus of all of this is family. So if family is not right and some things are not right in the household, families lead to community, community leads to nation. So we had to restabilize. But yes, we did have a plan put together, and actually some things were coming together pretty nicely, but we let some things come in and it deterred us. So that's where we are with it at this current time.
Brother Brandon?
Well, we actually, like I said, we did once upon a time when we migrated over there to Egypt. That was kind of our plan, to be together in one community. Here, since we came back here, we began talks. We had discussion, but not a plan that was able to, like, start off. But we had a plan as far as preparation goes, and in like for instance, as far as like what happened with this virus and things shutting down. So there were people who were already prepared with with seeds, with to grow, with water, with dehydrated food that had been preserved, just in case things happen. So we made preparation in that, but not preparation to actually move into one unified community. No, we haven't discussed it in any like real detail.
Okay, Roy Shael?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Morey Baruch. I was part of that initial plan, as Morey Baruch was talking about. Definitely just falling back with him on what Morey Baruch said earlier.
Okay. Yeah, we actually got a plan together. We got funds, trying to save up to get some property or whatever, but that is definitely our goal. We're actually was talking to Prince Kez or Prince Israel in Goshen, about helping him with his project as well, and kind of teaming up, and also with Morey Shalim. So we kind of got some things in place.
I was just making sure you wasn't asleep.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so yeah, definitely got some stuff in place. Okay,
man, I'm glad you mentioned that Goshen, because this is a two-part question, and I'm going to start with Morey Baruch, and it's a two-part question, and I'm gonna move on after that. Okay, should we move out of America, or should we build communities here? And what about those who can't go?
Well, I would always ask, in the response to that question is, why are we moving out of America? So that's the question I would ask in return, because are we moving out of America to go back to Israel? Are we moving back out of America to get away from the oppression? Because as I can recall, the Tanakh clearly states is that for those who are appointed to the sword, the sword will find them in Egypt or wherever they go. For those famine is appointed to, that's what it'll find them. It'll find them wherever they go. You know what I'm saying? Racism will find you wherever you go. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that you're running from. I think that there'll always be a remnant here in America, because the Most High said he's going to use us to be a light unto the Goyim, or the Gentiles. You know what I'm saying? So there'll always be a remnant or a governance in America. No matter what happens, there'll always be a governance here. So I think that how can we go somewhere and perfect something when we do have the means to perfect here, or get right here? So I think that people think that, I have a saying that says that a problem put away is a problem saved for another day. So in essence, it's like we have some issues that we need to deal with here, and it starts with leadership. It starts with all of us who are on this line right now. We need to deal with the issues, because guess what? If we wasn't fighting over Messianic, non-Messianic, Torah only. Neither would the people.
All right.
Just simple solutions to big problems, you know. So that's my thought on it. I hope I answered the question.
You did, man. I'm gonna piggyback off that a little bit. Now, this was gonna be kind of a tough question because my brother brought up Goshen, and we're not gonna go into detail on that. This is concerning a community court system. Now, as leaders, we understand that, you know, we have the Torah, and we have Torah how to govern right ruling, and we should be relying heavily on that. But, you know, some people say, well, we don't have priests, we don't have different people to exact those, you know, to do that. So, Brother Brandon, a community court system, why doesn't it exist in canon?
You said, why doesn't it exist?
Yes, in canon. I mean, because think about
Well,
it. I would real quick. ISUPK says we've been here since the 60s, right? You got before that, you had Malcolm X, you had Elijah Muhammad, you had all these great leaders. So when it comes to a community court system being able to be in place, and nowadays, all the way up in the 2000s, can it exist, and why doesn't it exist in our community?
Well, I don't. For first thing, I don't necessarily agree that it doesn't exist. I think that it does exist to a certain extent, because there, like I believe it's in Romans that state that we are supposed to be able to judge even the small matters. But however, you can also see the evidence of this in the gospel, where the larger issues, even though there was a community court system amongst the Israelites, certain things they couldn't exact. They could not carry out capital punishment, which is why they had to lead the Messiah to the Romans in order for execution, because they weren't carrying out capital punishment for, you know, at that point in time. But however, there is community court when it comes to, let's say, such a situation as that if there's fornication or adultery amongst the assembly, like it's judged and it's handled amongst the assembly based on what happens, you know, in Torah. Or if it may not even have to be something as big as that. It could be anything. But the matters that we hold, you know, amongst the assembly, the matters that we hold amongst the assembly is that community court. And so I think that it's present. It's just limited to the severity of what the offense is.
Well said. More Shael, how should we handle leaders? This is talking about leaders who have been accused of wrongdoing.
Good question. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verse 16, say, I charge you judges, backing up what Brother Brandon said, I charge you judges at the time, saying, hear the cause between your brother and judge righteously between every man and his brother and the stranger that is with him. And verse going to read on, it said, do not respect the person in judgment, but hear the small as well as the great, and do not be afraid of the faces of what man. I want to stop right there. As Brother Brandon was saying, Morey Baruch was saying, the issue is sometimes we get a little too close with people. And when we know they do wickedness, we don't want to hurt their feelings. Man, look here, hurt their feelings. Because if I do something to violate my brother, violate the scriptures of Torah, the Most High, look, tell me, listen, brother, you are off. You are off. Point blank. So I can get it right, but not saying that because we so cool, we do the feast day together, we worship together. That's one of our biggest problems right now. We are scared to step on each other with toes. Man, skip that. If I see you doing something wrong with your brother, I'm going to inbox you, I'm going to call you on the phone and say, you got to get right, or you need to tap out. You don't need to stand up. Take your fringes off, take your kufi off my face, shave all that hair off your face. What are you doing? You perpetrating a fraud. Tap out. The book of Haggai, chapter 1, verse 5 say, consider your ways. So we all must first consider our ways as leaders first before we can tell the people to consider their ways and repent. Let's start with us first.
Got me fired up, huh? Calm down. You know what I'm saying?
Come on.
All right, more at a time. Do we even have the power to reprimand any wrongdoer in our community?
I would definitely say we have the power, but it pretty much stems back on your last question about having people in place. Having people in place is going to take also the people to accept that. That's one thing we got to correct before we can really do anything. We got to start being able to humble ourselves as a people, and be willing to listen. It's too many. Can't another man tell me nothing? Too much of that going on in the community, so is the power there? Do we have the power to? Yes. And certain acts we have to judge. I mean, we got this thing we say, like on our afternoon call every day, we do Tainly Miswa, give a commandment, and we try to make it relatable with today's time and how will we handle that situation in today's time. So just like some of the laws were adjusted, at first you just supposed to rest on the Shabbat. Then when he got caught picking up sticks, why? It wasn't because he was picking up sticks. It was because he was working. He was cutting down wood. That amplified the law. Now don't even go outside. So sometimes we have to make adjustments to our time, and that type of laws could be handled by man. But in this captivity, some of the ways we have to cast judgment, considering some of the laws, we might get locked up.
All right. More Baruch, I got a question. Okay, for us to be able to have that platform and let people start to be able to trust us, should we start having public trials so people start to realize that, hey, people are starting to be reprimanded, and now we know who to go to?
I think that public trials, I think that even some camps, I've even been at some where some elders and stuff do a sense of a public hearing in the case of a matter. So I definitely think that puts a little more faith in the leadership for the people, because they look at it and go, okay, they about their business. Now, here's another thing I propose to even bring it another step further. I know that with all the police brutality and everything going on, but if you check our history, a lot of times our ancestors held these actual positions in captivity. So I even propose that if we are tired of what the cops are doing, why don't some of you brothers that like to go hard anyway become police officers? Mm-hmm. Because now we're in a situation where I've seen situations happen where Israel, our hands were tied. We couldn't do nothing else to a brother who did an offense. We couldn't do anything else, because anything else would have been breaking the law, which means that now we would have ended up in jail. But if we had a police officer brother in the camp, then we could have been like, yo, this man, not only is he breaking the Torah, but he's breaking the law. You see what I'm saying? And maybe we can bring a cease to some of these things. So I always believe in, because we are in here fighting from behind enemy lines, as my aunt told me. And sometimes I think we need to start taking up these positions. Think about it, if it was an Israelite cop standing over there with what happened to the brother Floyd. You think that would have happened? He wouldn't even have to cause a scene. He would have tapped him on the shoulder like, yeah, you need to lay off. See what I'm saying? Because now we're actually in the system regulating. You see what I'm saying? Our ancestors was always inside of the system in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And these things brought salvation to us in many instances. We wasn't just dumb, broke, busting this. We were intelligent. We are intelligent. Let me say that. But we have this stigma because we Hebrew Israelites. We can't hold these positions, but our ancestors did. They held these positions. Nehemiah, it says he was the cupbearer. He was on the level of Rab Shakwa, who came to Israel and taunted us in front of the priesthood and was speaking in our language. That's what it was. Rab Shakwa, he was the chief cupbearer. Nehemiah was the cupbearer. That's why he told them boys, don't come back here again. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to put my hands on you. Because he didn't play. He held an official position. So I say, Let's get in these official positions so we can filter some of this nonsense that's going on I'm just dealing with the Hebrew community, in the Hebrew community. You see what I'm saying? And now the people start taking us seriously. They start feeling protected. They put faith in the leadership and the judgment of Yah, because it's not our judgment. It's already laid before us. So that's some things that I would propose. And I have spoken to some of the brothers about that already.
Okay. Brother Brandon, okay.
Yes, sir.
It's been said that Israelites in the land take and respect and are deeper into the culture and Torah over here than we are. I've even been heard to say that they consider us like it's like a play. We play pimping over here. We're not really serious as they are, right? So have you and your brothers, the leaders of your community, have y'all reached out to the leaders of the land to see how we can adopt some of the ideas and techniques to further grow while we're over here in the belly of the beast, and to discuss and how to handle problems such as community problems?
So you said Israelites that's actually in the land of Israel right now?
Okay, let's just take brothers from Demona. This brother took a whole bunch of brothers in the 60s, turned them vegan, and they've been there ever since with African garments. They got jobs, they speak the language, they're together, right? So obviously they have a system that is working for them. Have you and your brothers in your community reached out to brothers that's been over there since the 60s, the 70s, and 80s to see and get and adopt some of their ideas and techniques to further allow the brothers over here to grow and to take Torah and its culture more seriously?
Okay, so I want to answer this in a couple different pieces. So firstly, I think that's exactly what we have been discussing on the line, as far as like things that we point out to try to separate each other from each other. Like y'all not as righteous as we are because we're here. Like that's just more division. Like regardless of what landmass you're standing on, because everybody in Israel, even in biblical times, everybody didn't dwell in the same landmass. And during the feast days, you had to come to present yourself before the Most High in the land, but you didn't dwell there. But in Acts, the 2nd chapter, it says devout men from out of all of these different areas. So I think that that's just more division. That's first and foremost. Secondly, to say that, like when they got there, they stayed there. Like we have a brother that grew up in that community that's a part of our assembly now. We had a sister who used to be a part of our assembly that was born and raised in that community. So it's not like everybody who's grown up in that community remains in that community. Like they still branch off and go to other places and even venture back to the United States, even though they were born there. So, it's a broad brush to say that it's always one way, but we have not reached out to them as far as techniques go, as far as building community. I do know of some brothers that like I said, lived there. They kind of dwelt there for a little while. And I know that they do welcome some of the other brothers from the outside in. Like they even have space for brothers to come and dwell amongst the community to visit. So but we have not reached out to them. But
is that something that we should do?
Absolutely. I think that it establishes the brotherhood. The more that we reach out and we talk to each other, just like the initial question about the Messianic and non-Messianic monikers. If you discuss these different things with brothers that of a different mindset, then what the scriptures say, you gained a brother. You know what I mean? Regardless of ideology. So even though they're there, if we can have open dialogue, absolutely, why not? There's no reason why we shouldn't.
Hallelujah. I think it's Brother Etan's question. Okay. Now I'm gonna say a brother's name. Some of y'all brothers may know him. I'm just using it in as an example. Okay. There's a brother in Virginia, Brother Abraham, right? And he has his website, and it's basically a United Israelite website, right? So how do we build a united nation of Israel, where Mores, both in Israel and here, have councils and conferences to discuss the movement in our community. Okay, because what's happening is what we're having is a massive amount of individualism, and the information is not tested or vetted. And that way people have more of a direct line of understanding on who they should be listening to. Even when you get into the Jewish community, they have different sects, but they have their certain leaders and different lines on who is the master teachers. So again, let me ask you, want me to ask you again, or you got it?
You can answer it again.
Okay.
Answer correctly.
So, okay, so the question is, how do we build up a united nation of Israel where mores both in Israel and here have councils and conferences to discuss the movement in Israel in our community, so that way we don't have a massive amount of individualism whose information is not tested or vetted, and that the way people can have a more direct line on who they should be listening to?
So the question of how can we do that? Amos 3:3. How can two walk together unless they have met? So we have to have a meeting of the minds, an agreement, just takes everybody reaching out, to each other. It would take, I guess it would really take one person that would need to be, or a couple of people that would need to, have the connection to be able to reach out to certain individuals to be able to set this meeting up. But I mean, that's what would have to happen first. It would have to be a meeting. I think anything can happen once you get together, you sit down and you dialogue. Yeah.
Do you think that is the next step for Israel to be taken serious?
Yeah, we have to form some kind of governmental system, or else we can't even consider ourselves a nation. We have no army. We have a governmental structure, which is the Torah, but we don't have a set-based governmental system. Like you say, it's a bunch of individualism. And I don't think it's because like we don't want to come together. I mean, because I know too many, we wouldn't be on this, line right now if that was the case. But I think it's just the matter of someone being able to connect people.
Hallelujah. Okay, Moreh Shael. Okay, well, I'll start with everybody first. This is a question for everyone. Does your street, neighborhood, and county know who you are and what you represent, or are you only known on the internet?
Yes, I do community work, which I've been doing it for the last 6 years, going to community in Durham, giving out food, school supplies and stuff like that. Definitely doing so. I'm well known in the community, going down to City Hall, and definitely establish myself. That's one thing, as Moreh Baruch stated, as Israelite, we got to establish ourselves in the community, not when someone do something in the community. Oh, look at those Black Hebrews. That is a cult. It's like when the guy Pete Moses, killed that baby and that girl. First thing he called him out for, do you know this guy? Never heard of the man. Mm-hmm. Never heard of him. So we got to establish ourselves, and we got to be smooth and cautious how we establish ourselves. Not going into these places trying to convert these people, because the first thing you do is shun away. They can run away. As Moreh Baruch say, we must first show ourselves friendly, let our light shine, present ourselves in a way where we supposed to be peculiar. Like, man, you know what? Hey, what's so different about you? Why you got that kufi? What's some things on your side? So basic how we present ourselves inwardly, outwardly, then that opening doors for us to be able to move into society and get into places where we usually wouldn't get into.
Hallelujah. Moreh Baruch.
I mean, so eloquently spoken by my big brother over there. Man, that's powerful. Most High told us through the prophet, he said, with love and kindness have I drawn thee. You know what I'm saying? That's how I brought you in, through love and kindness. You know, Yisrael is so peculiar and special to the Most High that we don't even need to pick up a weapon. You know, look at we got people overseas talking about no justice, no peace right now. You know what I'm saying? That's wild. That's without even having leaders really orchestrating and really organizing. That's just wild energy, ruach of our people, and how other people in the world is talking about that. The Indians trying to come out talking about some, yeah, that's, you know, everybody's trying to get, because the Most High said, I'm going to judge the earth in righteousness, you see what I'm saying, and faithfulness or truth. These are things that come out of us. We like our daddy, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, what Morey Shael said, you know, and I know this brother to be that because I've been knowing this brother over a decade, and I've been intimate with him. I've been there. I've been in his house. I done sat at his table, so I know what he does. Am I known in my neighborhood? Absolutely. You see what I'm saying? But they might not know me as the Hebrew Israelite. They might know me as the brother that be wearing the kufi. But he'll come over and bring me something, or he'll help me with my bags for no reason. Or if they see me, you know what I'm saying? Or he'll just come over and talk to you. You know what I'm saying? That's how I want them to know me, because that's how the Creator is. You see what I'm saying? He's, you know, it says he speaks once, twice, though one may not comprehend. The Most High is always teaching, are we in class? That's how we should be as Hebrews in our community. It don't necessarily have to be a big old title that we're this, you know what I'm saying? It's just how we move, you know what I'm saying? And I think that, you know, he said, like I said, he said it perfectly. It's how we move. And if we really try to pursue the love of our Creator and truth, this is how we'll start to be. And you'll know it by how we deal with each other. That the Most High is dealing with us, because it's be how we dealing with each other.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Rage and bull, you see what I'm saying? That's the ability the Most High gives us to calm these things and bring sense to this, you know? So, okay, I mean, Maurice Sayel said it, you know, brother, get me stirred up, man. Love my big brother, man. Love my big brother.
Brother Brandon, what
Yes,
about
sir.
Are you known in your street, your community, your neighborhood, or would you say your group is just known online?
Okay, so all right, this gonna be after this question. I'm gonna have to tap out on y'all. I'm kind of in between going through some things, but absolutely, like personally, my neighborhood where I grew up in, and the neighborhood where I not currently live, but because I just moved, but the neighborhood that I live, they know me, they know, you know, they I have younger sons, and then all the boys in our neighborhood, we started a basketball team. I coach them. You know they can come down, and they call me Mr. B. They know they can come down to Mr. B's house, and it's, you know, whatever is clever. You know, you know, the mothers, I have, you know, one of the young men, his dad has been incarcerated for quite some time, and you know, so I make sure that, you know, when I, you know, speak to his mother, she always thanks me for making sure that, you know, her son is good. And, you know, it's just, and it's not like, you know, anything that you do for accolades. It's just what you do, you know, like I just said, is what we do, you know what I mean? And we known by our fruit. And so I think that, that going forward as an assembly, we are definitely known around the city, by other, you know, assemblies or whatever, but we're known, you know, it's not a big thing, but going forward, and what we're trying to establish here is a community base where we can reach out to the surrounding area in our community where our assembly is. And we have, well, we've done it. So we have like fish fries and different things where we, you know, of course, you present food to the community and they come out, but where we can, you know, invite, rather than go out to feed the homeless, invite the homeless into a warm place where they can get, you know, a warm meal and clothes and those type of things. That's the thing that we've been attempting to do the last couple of years moving forward. So that's been our goal, and slowly but surely we're attaining the resources in order to be able to reach that goal. So I would say we're known, but we're not where we want to be, and not where the Most High he wants us to be just yet. So, you know, it's growing. We're getting there.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, man. And real quick, brother, I know you got to go. I just want you to give a quick yes or no, and that way other brothers can fill in, okay? Brother White on June 11th, he said this. He says, when we burn down our neighborhood, we allow big companies to take out insurance policies and rebuild, and allows for gentrification. Where now they're going to raise the prices in the area and push us out. What is your thoughts on the burning of the buildings in the Black community? And does that really affect us? Do you agree with him?
Well, yeah, it affects us, but we have to, first off, this is something that I discussed in previous last week on Shabbat, and I didn't get a chance to go into it thoroughly, but we have to be, the scriptures say we need to be sober and be vigilant, which means we need to be mindful. We need to be aware of what's really happening. So understanding that this rioting and everything that's happening, even in our communities, you have what they call agitators, or these people who have been placed in our community. I mean, it's brothers. Is not. I don't want to say brothers, but they are people who make a living protesting under false pretenses because they get paid for it. So we have to be very mindful that it's not always us that's causing the disturbance and burning down buildings and doing these different things in our community. These things, some of these things, in a lot of instances, have been set up and have been put in place or put in play to try to do just that, to gentrify our communities. Now, it's certain cities where gentrification is a slower process just because of the demographic is a lot more dense in certain cities like Detroit. You know what I mean? And Detroit is the metropolitan Detroit is very segregated. You know, you have a community of Polish. You have the Black community, which is primarily in Detroit. You have an Arab community. You have a white community, which is, and we're all segregated still. I mean, like like as far as like a percentage wise for the U.S., these cities are still the most segregated in the United States to date. So it happens, but it's a slower process. I can't say that I necessarily agree 100%, but just being aware of what's happening. Yeah, they're not necessarily pushing us out as much as we're kind of giving it to them. We're leaving and giving it away.
Okay. Well, appreciate you, brother, man, and you be safe, man. Tell the other brothers I said shalom, okay?
I definitely will, man. I appreciate and love all you brothers, man. Shalom to you. Y'all have a pleasant Shabbat. May the Most High be with you and grant you peace, man. I love you, brothers, man, and I look forward to the day when we can sit and break bread in person, face to face, and discuss some of these things and how we're going to enact some of these things for the community, for Israelite community that are awoken and those who are still asleep. I'm looking forward to the day, man, and I love y'all, brothers, man, and y'all have a blessed night and a peaceful Shabbat. Shalom.
Okay, okay, so let me throw this out there. Brother Polite says that, it's going to, we're burning our communities. An argument could be made that Target has done nothing for our Black community. We don't own it. It doesn't put the money back into our community. They take the money. Most of the managers in certain communities, there's not Black ownership in it. So when you burn down these communities, an argument can be made is that you are forcing people to watch a major company burn. And when they watch that major company burn, they have to ask, why is it burning? Now they have to hear you. When you go back in history, no answers or none of the the stuff that we were going through, it didn't happen without something burning, somebody dying. It's an act of war. So an argument could be made as well as that we have to do things like that in order for us to get our voices heard. So what I would ask y'all, do y'all think Brother Polite is right by not burning down the stuff because now it pushes us out of the community? Or do you think that it allows our voices to be heard?
Okay, so that's a very good question you asked. Number one, we already labeled as a byword, nigga, coon, idiot. So we go in this and we ain't got nothing saved. We don't have nothing stocked up, no food, not preserved, and we got grandparents, we got elder people in nursing homes and that need medicine and stuff, need certain care. That would be logical sense to me to burn down something that where you got babies too that deal with all type of medical issues. Here you go burn down the convenience store, you go burn down the pharmacy, you go burn down the grocery store. Now, what about the rest of the people that live in that community? How they can survive if the leaders have not in that community have not stocked up the necessary stuff that they need? Now, to ask you a question, you said something about the Abraham, the UCC. Okay, I'm not going to go into details. There are people I personally know that's doing altogether 37 years because they got millions of dollars from the government. They got the money, but they went crazy with it. And then white folks said, okay, you don't got back your birthright. Now you're trying to get more money. The father, the wife, the daughter, the son, all together got 37 years. So even with that, we got to be mindful how we even move in getting back our birthrights. As this conversation you had in Morey Baruch. Once you do that, do you have life insurance? That means you cannot get nothing from the system. Nothing. Nothing. Zip. No Medicare, nothing.
Mm-hmm. Morey Baruch, do you think that Brother Polite is right?
I think that in terms of Brother Polite, I really don't wish to comment, because I have my school of thought, you know what I'm saying, dealing with my culture. So I would say that we need to teach our people what to do with fire. We need to teach them. What happens is the fire is an external manifestation of what's going on inside of us. Right? So instead of taking that fire and burning buildings up, we need to teach them what to do with that fire. The Most High even said, he said he is a consuming fire. You understand? So fire is good and bad. It depends on what end of it you on. We need to teach our people what to do with these things. Hitler once made a statement I read, right? And he said, our people have done nothing for the world, Black people, right? They've done nothing for the world, right? And at first I was like, oh, you racist, whatever, blase, blase. But then I had to sit back and I had to think about it. And I said, what is our job, right? So if a person has a job, a task, this is your description. I'm an electrician, right? But I'm not doing my job. What is the person who's over me or who needs me gonna say about me? He's gonna say, man, Baruch ain't did nothing for me. And he would be right. So what happens is when Yisrael steps out of his place and doesn't do what we were intended to do for the world, we have a job for the world. My elder told me, he said, the Most High chose us because he loves the world. Think about that. He don't want to destroy mankind. So he said, I'm going to choose Israel to be a righteous hub, a righteous people that I look to, and I'm intimate with them. I dwell with them.
Come on.
So I would say that fire is only a manifestation of what's in us, and we don't know what to do with it because there's no light on them streets going, whoa, wait a minute. Let me show you what to do with that fire. You understand? You don't need to burn that. Let me show you how to redirect that fire and turn it into burn that energy that you need to accomplish what it is that we're trying to accomplish. I always say that if Yisrael was in his place, we wouldn't need doctors because you wouldn't be sick. Didn't the Most High tell us that? He said, if you do this, none of these plagues, you won't have sickness, you won't need this.
Come on.
Think about our position to the world, our stance for the world. We got to get right. So we as leaders have to start taking that fire and say, you know what? I'm gonna put this fire where it's supposed to go.
Hallelujah.
I'm gonna take this fire, I'm gonna make bricks, right? And I'm gonna build with these bricks. I took that fire. That's what Malcolm did. That's what Martin did.
Come on.
That's why they said these boys is building. Let's kill them. Let's get rid of them. They building. Marcus, he building. Let's get him. He didn't take the fire and try to shoot a white man and he took the fire and made bricks. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just using them as examples. You know,
Okay.
so I would say that we just need to teach people what to do with fire.
More, what do you think?
So I agree with the point that you was making when you started off about us not owning things. So I don't think it's that part of the burning is really affecting us, but like Elder said, if you haven't prepped, you know, like amongst our I guess you, for lack of better words, congregation, since like before the pandemic, we've always been preaching survival, stack up, you know, get you some water, stack up, get you some dry goods, stack up on your grains, stack up on your beans, stack up on your, get you some the life water straws, you know, get you some medical kits, get you flashlight, get you batteries, get you ammo. You know, we've always been preaching stack up, store. But if you haven't been doing that, which a lot of our people that's out there that are off, or for one, the sad part is really that it's not us that's initiating the burnings and all that. We're just getting blamed for it. But even with us being a part of it and saying, oh man, yeah, let's burn it down, like the elder said. So what if they put everything on lockdown and say, everybody stay in the house, anybody get caught outside, you going to jail? Do you have provisions inside of your home to where you can afford to burn this grocery store down? Do you have medication in your home to burn this CVS down? You know, do you have enough water? You know, so we have to, our problem is we have to start being more proactive instead of reactive.
Hallelujah.
I'd like to throw this in there, then we're gonna move in because we're almost done. So I would like to say this. It is something, a combination of that you all said. An argument can be made is that it is beneficial for the things to burn down. Why? Because it forces you now to take the advice of the leadership to prep, to have those canned goods, to have those beans, to have these, to have those things. And what it does is it forces you now to buy from your people. So instead of going to Target, instead of going to Walmart, instead of going to these different places, yeah, you may not be able to get medicine from them. But we all know some people in the community that's fantastic with herbs. We got Patrick Bells, we got Dr. Sabi, we got all these different brothers, man. Shout out to Dr. Sabi. You know, he passed away. I apologize for that. But we got all these brothers who are very, very talented in healing properties and teaching you how to eat to stay healthy, because if you follow with the instructions of the Most High, then you wouldn't be sick, then you wouldn't have to deal with that. And you have other brothers as also well as a combination between health, food. You have brothers who are knowledgeable in exercise and learn how to just keep your body fit and the stretches and all these different things. So I do think what it does is it sets us back to a point where we're not as dependent on these mega stores in our communities, because they are in our communities. So that would be an argument as well. And let me say this real quick. Ahmaud Arbery, Michael Brown, Ahmaud Arbery, Georgia, Michael Brown, Ferguson, Terrence Crutcher, Tulsa, Eric Garner, New York, Oscar Grant, the Bay Area, Freddie Gray, Baltimore, Botham Jean, Dallas, Anita Jefferson. I don't know which. I mean Dallas. Betty Jones, Chicago. Trayvon Martin, Florida. Laquan McDaniel, Chicago. Tamar Rice, Cleveland. Breonna Taylor, Louisville. Dominique White, Topeka. Sandra Bland, Waller County, Texas, and of course George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I said those names because we can't forget those names. We can't allow them to be last week's news and we just move on and working and forgetting about the brothers who've been slayed and been killed by this white supremacist system. But I also say that to say this. Now, this goes back to the leadership. Was there mores, you guys, and other mores, Israelites, in any conference call, in any telephone conversations, went to any of those states, linked with the Israelites in those states, seeking justice for our brothers and sisters that was executed by this white supremacist system?
Cain, let me answer that. It goes back to what Moreh Ethan said earlier, and Moreh Baruch, is the ism and schism within Israel. Here's a prime example. I want to read something about, we got to even watch out first with our own people. Now, in the book of Exodus chapter 2, I want to start at verse 11, and I want to listen up. And it came to pass in those days when Moshe was growing, that he went out to his brothers, all right? And he looked on their burdens, and he noticed a Mishram, okay, a Egyptian smacking a Hebrew. One of his brothers, and he looked this way and that. Okay, so he looked both ways. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the what Mishram or the Egyptian. And he hid him in the sand. Otherwise, he killed him, right? Now you notice he would look around to make sure no one was looking before he killed this man. Okay? I'm going somewhere with this right here now. Okay. One of his brothers, and he looked this way and that way. When he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian, and he hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strove together, meaning they was arguing. And he said to him that was in the wrong, why doest thou smack that fellow? And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Now, who that sound like? Let me finish. This is a question. Do thou intend to kill me? That means someone was watching. If thou did kill the Egyptian, a question. And Moshe feared and said, surely this thing is what known. Okay, come on now. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to what? Slay Moshe. Who told Pharaoh? Hallelujah. Who told Pharaoh what Moshe Rebbe Benu had what did? Our own people's own what people. So what am I saying? In turn to what get down and get dirty, we can't even be telling everybody. Even in this what system, as I say, if that little Tasmanian little devil raising hell in the community, use common sense. If not, he'll come knocking at your door. We can talk about, do you want to be saved? No. I'm not asking you want to get saved. I know you come, so I'm going to give you exactly what you're looking for. If not, you'll be on kick my wife out, my child, my grandkids. Even in this system here, we got to use wisdom. Now, two, when you go to the court of law, do not they tell you to put your hand on the Bible and swear by it? I would say, Your Honor, how you going to judge me and you telling me to put my hand on the Bible? The same laws are in here, which I would carry out according to my God that was given to our foreparents thousands of years ago. And you telling me now you want to give me your 20, 30 years according to your law, but you got this very book up in here? That's very hypocritical. As Moreh Baruch say, we got to use wisdom and we got to look at our laws and say, what can we apply? And if we apply certain things, we can't be one to go tell everybody because we come together as a nation, the same one say, yo, we can do this right here. Don't joke us the same way they did to Moshe. Yeah, do it to us.
So
In this generation now.
So let me ask this: with all those brothers slain, has the Israelite leaders, even including you, reached out to those brothers in those states to seek judgment for those families?
No, I have not. I have not, because a lot of those brothers I don't even personally know for other Israelites, what states.
You say you don't?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know them personally.
Oh, you don't know them? Okay.
Yeah.
I have not. I have reached out in my own community to Israelites when, not necessarily when a situation happened in my community, but when they first did Black Lives Matter, we were out there at the rally talking to the people and stuff, and it was real positive. Israel has become, in some instances, a bunch of little gangs. You know what I'm saying?
Come on.
Right.
And it makes us very uncomfortable at times to reach out to brothers, because brothers, it's almost like doctrines are leading the way now. So it's almost like it's like red and blue. It's kind of like, oh, you don't do this, you don't have on this color, or well, we don't need you. And I'm thanking the Most High for this situation in the aspect of it is putting a fire on some of us leaders, which is actually branding us leaders together. So one reason why I wasn't out with this situation, because I didn't know what to do. I'm gonna be honest. I know we say pray and fast. Okay, got you. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to react. You understand? So sometimes when these things happen, you have to sit back. The best thing to do is when you don't know something, what you tell your child when they do something, they don't know what they're doing. You say, why did you do that? Why didn't you just ask, or wait for me? So I feel like that way as a man, just a man in this sense, is that I don't know what to do. You see what I'm saying? I know it's bruised out here. I know it's my brothers is out here, but told y'all for one, this call, I just got to put a face with Maury Eaton. I've heard the name before, but now I'm putting a face with him. I say, man, I feel closer to this brother just by talking with him on about this situation, about these matters. I feel closer to this brother. I already feel closer to you brothers. My brother that hopped off, Brother Brent, I feel closer to you, but just by having a conversation. Say, man, what's going on your end? What y'all seeing in Texas? You see what I'm saying? I tell you what we seeing up here. And now we can start to put together plans of joining and meeting and talking. I remember when I said, man, when a brother's in despair or something going on with a brother, the first thing you don't ask them is what they believe in. You ask them, man, you okay? Y'all okay? Are you all right? I see y'all just had a traumatic situation. Y'all all right? What do you need?
Mm-hmm.
That starts to build a relationship. What do you need, brother? You know what I'm saying? And I told her, because brothers out of Charlotte and stuff that have done that with me. You know what I'm saying? That have come up to our camps and from New York, they have come and just been like, hey man, we just hear the fellowship. And I appreciate these brothers, these women, you know what I'm saying? These leaders, you know what I'm saying? So I think that that's what's really needed amongst us. I think that I have not reached out, you see what I'm saying? And like I said, partially because I just didn't know what to do. Sometimes you don't know what to tell the people. So sometimes you have to just keep your mouth closed. You have to shut up. You have to really examine the situation to see what are we really dealing with? Because guess what? Everything we seeing right now is not real.
Come on.
Some of these brothers and sisters is hype and they Black. They don't care nothing about the Creator. They don't care nothing about the God of Israel.
Come on.
So I gotta sit back and examine what's real and what's not. You know what I'm saying? Now, naturally, through the Ruach, not by power nor by might, but through Yah's Ruach, he's bringing leaders together. I'm watching that happen.
Hallelujah.
And we're meeting each other and we're going, okay, man, we've been talking about this a long time. We just haven't figured out how to make it happen. It's because we need each other. So we really do need each other.
So
Yes.
That's one thing I've learned.
So let me touch more at time because I'm going to piggyback on all that. What about you, brother?
Okay, so I've been caught up in listening to I came to the Maureen. Can you ask the question again? It's been getting
So
good.
with all those brothers and sisters that's been executed.
Oh, okay, I'm back. I got you. Have I reached out to anyone personally? No, I haven't. Well, okay, so have I reached out to any of the individuals' families?
Or the Israelites in those communities.
Or Israelites in those communities.
Together with them.
Not necessarily in those communities, because like Moray Shael said, I don't know them. I don't know anyone in those areas personally. But I have reached out to other Israelites and a couple of brothers that's in my city, you know, that I grew up with, that I know, you know.
Because that definitely has some stuff going on too, right?
Right, just putting together a plan, man, to where we can start preventing stuff like this. I'm actually linking up with Saw Shemuel or whatever. So, man, just putting together a plan, man, so we can, like I say, to be proactive and not reactive. Because stuff only happens, you know, when we don't act. You know, we sit back and, you know, we think, like in just these type of instances, just for example, you know, when the stuff happens to us, all these atrocities, you know, and we catch it on film and we sit back and we watch it. I just, you know, I talked to my Isha about this and my Bane, you know, I told both of them, you know, like, if I was in that situation, know that your Ish and know that your Abba is either about to get arrested, I might lose my life, you know, there might be a chance that any one of those happen, because I'm not finna stand by and be one videotaping. No, I'm gonna jump, I'm gonna dive towards whatever I need to do, even if I gotta take a taser, whatever, but it's gonna save my brother or sister's life. I'm not gonna, and we need more of that. You know, I told my Bane, you know, it was because I'm getting tired of it, you know, and I'm getting tired of it. You know, oh man, we got it on camera. They still not doing it. Stop filming it. Start doing something. You know, we talk about pray. You know, Baruch saying, you know, I know, you know, you say, you know, fast and pray. Well, pray is a verb. It's action. You know, it's not getting down on your knees and, you know, only time we prayed was we prayed for our plan to go according to Yah's plan. That's what we prayed for. But that was because we were supposed to do something, not because we was supposed to hold hands and you know, say, okay, well, we're gonna see what happened. No, we went and did something, and we was praying for the provision and the safety of the Most High Yah. That was all we was praying for. But it was actually, it's a verb. So we have to get active. You know, when things are happening, we have to get active with each other like this, man. Hey, I love y'all to life. You know, and I'm that I got to be a part of this, because I would die for y'all, because you are my brother. I would not sit back and stand idle while anything happened to any of my people. I would not. That's the Torah, and I'll end at that.
So let me ask this. Okay, well, all those brothers that's died, okay, the people that were filming and the people that was around, they called the cops, right? Would y'all agree? They called the cops, right?
Okay.
Why aren't they calling us? Because we're not known. We're not available. We're not in the communities known enough where they can say, because think about it, they're calling the same system that they see killing their brother in front of them.
Okay.
You think about the psychology in that? Right. I'm going to call the system that kills you to help you. Right. Isn't that the whole thing of what's it called when you're beating your head against the and you're hoping for a change? Right. It's that. So when we're in that situation, when does your community know that if there's a domestic dispute, because you know when brothers and sisters get to argue, all the sister got to do is call, and the brother got to leave the premises. Well, a lot of times the brother don't know where to go. So does your community and your neighborhood and even in your county, do they know, if it's a small county, that if they're in a domestic dispute, if they got in trouble with drugs, if they got kicked out the house, if they just need somebody to talk to, or if something going down in your community, do they know that they could call on the leaders of this Israelite community instead of calling the cops first? And how do we make that known?
Well, very good question. Go back to, as Maura Ethan and Morgan Root said earlier, as we are moving a certain way within the system and present ourselves a certain way to be able to make ourselves known, especially in southern states, you got all these different denominations, and that's kind of like a stumbling block too. But here, like, oh my God, he's coming with doctrine, this and that. No, there's an issue that I'm coming to address, that so-and-so, blah, 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 sister so-and-so called, brother so-and-so called, and I'm going to address it according to my culture before you would call what the system. And we definitely would do that. But the key thing is start with us first. As Ezekiel 20 verse 38 say that y'all say he gonna purge the rebels. See, the rebels within the leadership nowadays gotta be purged within their thinking, okay? Because we see their brothers cussing everybody out on the street. That's another strike one against us. You see what I'm saying? When they be like, well, why am I gonna call you? You gonna cuss me out like your rest of your brothers do on the street? Oh, hell no. I don't know what you can say. And so we got to fight with all that ism and schism. And so, man, we fighting a beast within a beast, and plus the beast of the system. Right.
More group.
I would say, to answer your question shortly, no, and mainly because we still working things in-house right now. You understand? So, you know, it's something that it would be hypocritical to we got brothers doing things like that in-house. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, people in the community not gonna run to that guy and that guy in, you know what I'm saying? You know, so, we still working it out, to be continued. Should I say? Yeah, just to be honest, we got a lot of work to do, but you know, this is the time of truth, and things are changing, and you know, truth is prevailing in this day and time. It's like, yo, you're gonna be tried. Whatever you are, it's about to be manifested. In these times, whatever you are, it's about to be manifested. So,
but shouldn't that be one of the things that, especially as black men, we have to set up a situation where, you know, I had this idea that we create an app, and brothers in your community, and whenever you have something going on, you hit that app, and one of the leaders in your community calls you or responds and say, hey, what is going on? That way we're not so quick to call the cops, because the cops is only going to go and do one thing. You got to go. Somebody's coming with me by any means necessary. So a lot of times we have this fantasy that think that, oh, when the revolution hit, we're gonna be doing this. Well, you might be at your job. Your children may be having a doggone tornado drill at their school. Your wife may be, you know, may be a nurse and, you know, delivering a baby. We may not be all together when certain things hit. So whenever you get these calls, you may not be in a convenient position. But as the leader, I think that's you have to be Superman. You have to be the one to say, hey, brother, I can't get to you right now, but I can delegate and say, here's what you should do, and here who you should call. Should not that be the first thing a leader does, as he not only teaches Torah, but is that the first thing that he sets up in his community to say, we have to handle our situations ourselves first?
Okay. It's funny, man. That's pretty much actually what I'm trying to put together. Exactly what you were talking about, like physically patrolling like the area, you know, staying in communication, you know, what's going on, you know, that way, like you say, they don't have to call the police because they have an active security force, so to speak, you know, in the neighborhood or whatever. And like I was talking to the brothers, man, we need that everywhere, you know, and that's going to take some time, but I'm just to the point to where I'm so fed up, I got to try something, you know.
Well, let me pick back on that, brother. Not to cut you off, because this is a whole topic that I was going to, but well, you be having me so high because you always say something I'm about to say. Okay, for instance, Chicago has been a pandemic when it comes to murders. Matter of fact, it says that on Sunday, May 31st, 25 people were killed in the city and another 85 were wounded by gunfire. Now, when I first came into this truth, I came into the truth by a brother who was taught by brothers in Chicago. If y'all brothers know, there's a whole bunch of people up in Chicago that's in the truth, so-called. There is no way that we are not in constant communication on what's going on in Chicago, because we can't help for the mayor to handle the problem. We can't wait for the president. We can't wait for all these other people. We have to be not only boots on the ground, but we have to have our head and say, we know what's going on. We know what the mayor and we know what the police and we know what's going on in Chicago, because it's not going to be them to solve the problem. It's us solving the problem. So have we been in contact with brothers in Chicago to see what the heck is going on for brothers is dying at an alarming rate in Chicago? Well, remember, this is Israelite leadership.
A lot of the leaders that some of the one of the elders I know in Chicago, it go back to the very thing that Morey Baruch has said earlier, that all you can get feedback and say, listen, I cannot do it by myself. It's so many of us, but ism and schism and doctrine keep separate us. And you got to remember, as the scripture says, we are to cleave to Yah. Everybody that physical say they cleave to Yah, you got to kind of question that, especially nowadays. You can cleave to Yah, but you might be scared as grapes to make a move. You see what I'm saying? In other words, you want to sit on the bench and just watch. Everybody's not a warrior. I'm sorry, they're just not a warrior. So what I'm saying, y'all raise up certain people each generation to carry out a certain judgment. And basically, that's what he is doing now. He's raising up certain men in Israel to bring forth that fire and doctrine and say, listen, either get down or get out the way. Get out the way. If not, you're going to be like Moshe brothers. Turn on him. Like during the time of slavery. Every time the guy make a move, it was always someone that looked like us. Hey, master, they're trying to escape over there. And so even we go home, we still got to deal with racism. We still got to deal with ism and schism, even among our very what people. So it got to be a purging with the thinking, the minds.
Does it? Okay, for instance, doesn't necessarily have to be a Persian, a Persian in a mind. But think about it. Most High did not give us the spirit of fear, right? You think about, let's just say Jonah and Nineveh. He didn't want to go to that place. That place was a crazy place. He did not want to go to that place. He didn't want to deal with that place. Is Chicago a place, or not to say just Chicago, throughout Chicago, is dealing with other Israelite leaders? Is that what we're scared to do? Are we afraid to get checked informational wise as far as dealing with other Israelite leaders? Because think about it, he ain't nothing but another man. You go to him, it doesn't take much for a phone call and say, yo, you got people dying at an alarming rate. We're coming up there. Whether you like us or not, we're coming up there and we need to have a conversation. It doesn't need to be in terms of contention, but brothers need to know what is going on, because we cannot have another part. We can't wait for other nations to handle our problems if we're calling ourselves and trying to be a united nation. So is that a failure on Israel's part for not reaching out to the leaders in Chicago because we're afraid of the differences in our beliefs?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Maury. Go ahead. This is good. Great.
I wouldn't say a failure. I think it's more so of, I believe this was probably Morey Baruch's first statement when he said, you got to get the in-house right first. So I think it's more so of what appears to be individualism more so. I'll say for us, for instance, for those who I congregate with, more Dr. Moray Yoel, you know, and everybody that we congregate with, you know, we deal with each other and we prepare each other and we prepare, you know, and it's not like it's being said like, oh, you know, well, we see this going on, but we ain't for the mess with them. It's more so, dang, okay, well, we see this going on. What could we do to make sure this don't happen to us? Now, the idea of what you're saying is what should happen is to say, well, let's get in contact with them and see how we can help their situation. I think it's just a matter of probably just hadn't thought about it.
Okay, let me say this. I just looked it up. As of Wednesday, Chicago have seen 550 shootings in 2020, up 64 from last year. Brother, this is the beginning of summer, which means that we have 6 more months to go. They are killing. Matter of fact, a few years ago, they said there were more deaths in Chicago than there was in like Iraq. So if we take that idea on the person in the house, he gets the first crack. Let's just say he gets the first crack at it. At what point in time do we step in? At what point in time do we realize that the person in the house can't handle this problem, and we're leaving him alone to battle solo instead of fight as a nation?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you pose a good question, but here's the key. Like, I'm in Durham, North Carolina, and that would be silly of me to go to deal with Chicago issues, and I got issues here in Durham. So I gotta fix Durham because everybody know I got a nephew that I did a eulogy last Sunday, and I'm gonna tell you, those that know me personally, hey, I got strapped up. Point blank. I ain't prayed. Not, I thank the Most High for all y'all prayer, but according to our culture, he was what took away by the hands of another black man. Y'all made it look like us. So my job is to work on my issues here. And that's why we mess up from the get-go. Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 24. Y'all say you have been a rebellious, stiff-necked nation since the day I died. I know you. Other word, got intimate with you, and I showed you all this right here. I mostly led you through the yam soup. You saw what I did with the Egyptians, and you still trying to get the book of Deuteronomy chapter 32. You still worship another word God. And so we still deal with our nation, still worshiping all the different idols and different gods. We can go to Chicago. We can come together. You got the Nation of Islam there. You got so many ism and schism of religion there. And that's another beast. You got 5%ers there. So we are dealing with a beast. Only the Most High, through the power of wisdom and Ruach, can bring us together. If we try to do it on our own, we will fail without the power of the Ruach.
That's what I said. I felt that one. This is my last set of questions, man, and this is involved voting. And I saved this for last because this is go a variety of ways. Now, this is a yes or no, very quick.
Can I say something, Yeshua?
Yes, more.
I just wanted to add to what Maury Shael was saying is that, you know, we got to be real careful, right? So, you know, it would be real zealous of us to run up to Chicago and go, I'm about to clean up the streets up there. So guess what?
That's where I get smoked out
there. There's some niggas up there, okay? All right, that's first of all. 2 is that they still Israel. So you remember how all the tribes had to come together against Benjamin? It wasn't like, yeah, we just gonna shimmy out and go get them. No, they said, let's get all the tribes together and go against Benjamin. Because Benjamin was a monster to deal with. You understand? It wasn't just like no weak tribe here. We dealing with a monster, right? So even in the times of the Nabim and things of that nature, is that there was mixtures in Israel where you had evil, wicked parties here. And they couldn't just be like, man, let's just go kill them. This thing got to be unctioned by Yah in order to do things like this. You can't just be like, we going up to the shy and clean it up, because we dealing with a ruach here. Understand? Every city got a ruach, that some sort of dominant ruach. If you've been in enough cities, you will know when you hit the city, you'll pick up on what's dominant in this. Some cities got a high sexual ruach. Some got a high violent ruach. Some, the drug game is just ridiculous. You know, I've been to a lot of cities, so you got to be real careful. You know, it says a wise man seeth evil from a distance and hideth himself. You know what I'm saying? You got to be careful of that evil that you running into. You better make sure the Most High Yah is with you. You're going to run up in something like that. So I think and I'm just being honest, right? So I think that the best thing you could do is get home right. You see what I'm saying? And then start building a relationship with these other leaders. So that way, if it come down to that, now we coming in there with the ruach, under the unction of the Most High, saying, look, we can't have this no more. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that plays into a lot of it, because it feels good and sounds good to say, why ain't we running up there? Why ain't we stopping this? But the reality is that we dealing with a monster. You know, we dealing with a bona fide monster. And that's why they got the most homicides of the 2020. It's a monster up there. It's a reflection of their mind up there. You understand?
Come back. Patches.
So it takes time. These things got to be handled very, very wisely. So that's what I would just add to what my brothers are saying. You got to be very wise in how you deal with situations like that. I mean, because it could even be something simple as a domestic violence case in your community. And you could run up in there with not using wisdom and get your head blown off.
Right.
So you better hope that when you're dealing with these situations, that the Most High, that we got the guidance of the Most High on how to do this. We've been unctioned to do this, because you got to be very careful of the situations that you're dealing with. You know, wise as a serpent. You got to be wise when you're dealing with people.
And can I back you up? Let me say this right here. And y'all can Google this. In Raleigh, a daughter was in a domestic dispute with a boyfriend. Called the father. The boyfriend kept the father. Backing up what Morey Baruch say. Now, common sense would be dad. He got a gun. That didn't happen. He drove over there and got killed. That's the key.
That's it. Yeah, you got to use wisdom. You know, we got to do wisdom, but you know, I also think that the way our community was set up, the elders are supposed to handle situations. So I definitely think you can't just run up there like, you know what I'm saying? I do think that you have to use some wisdom. My last set of questions, I definitely say this for last, and this is a quick yes or no for everybody. I'm starting with Morey Baruch. Voting, should we?
So say it again. I'm sorry.
Should our people vote? Yes or no?
Okay.
More at a time?
Okay. I was locally, for sure. Local vote, that's what matters.
More Shia?
Totally agree, brother. I mean, because again, any Israelite brother that's running for a position that can help benefit the culture for us, yeah. You'd asked me that 20 years ago, I would have told you, nah. But it go back as Morey Ethan and Morey Baruch saying, even my mind has evolved to the higher understanding. Like, look at where you at. You got grandkids now. So things you was against, you need to kind of reconsider. That's growth, to be honest.
Okay, I'm gonna read something that Malcolm X said, and I was hoping somebody would say no, but I'm gonna read something that Malcolm X said because I think it's very deep. He says, and this is in his I think this is in his his ballots or bullets speech he gave. He says, if the black men in these southern states had full voting rights, the key Dixiecrats in Washington, D.C., which means the key Democrats in Washington, D.C., would lose their seats. The Democratic Party itself would lose its power. It would cease to be powerful as a party. When you see the amount of power that would be lost by the Democratic Party, if it were to lose the Dixiecrat wing or the branch or element, you can see where it's against the interest of the Democrats to give voting rights to Negroes in states where Democrats have been in complete power and authority since the Civil War. You just can't belong to that party without analyzing. I'm not saying I'm anti-Democrat. I'm not saying I'm anti-Republican. I'm not saying I'm anti-anything. I'm just questioning their sincerity of this and some of the strategy that they've been using on our people, promising them promises they don't intend to keep. When you keep the Democrats in power, you're keeping the Dixiecrats in power. I doubt that my good friend, Brother Lomax, would deny that. A vote for a Democrat is a vote for a Dixiecrat. That's why in 1964, it's time now for you and me to become more politically mature and realize that what the ballot is for, what we're supposed to get when we're cast a ballot. And if we don't cast a ballot, it's going to end up in situations where we're going to have to cast a bullet. It's either a ballot or a bullet. Now, I like those words that he said. So my question now, as leaders, are you or your leaders, or you or the leaders or your other Israelite leaders in contacts with their city councils? So when laws are passed, they have a say so and can notify the community.
Yes, my effect, I'm good friends with Omar Beasley in Durham, which is on the city council, which his parents do come out here in fellowship. So go back to conversation that me and Maury Baruch had over the years. So this is stuff I've been doing, which I don't really put out there on social media a lot, but that's how I get the community here. We get notified certain things and certain changes of what we need to look for. And it go back to building that relationship, not just on a biblical text sometimes, but a normal conversation. I've seen it work.
More time?
Yeah, I actually, one of the guys that was running for mayor in my city, me and him actually went to school together. One of the ladies that's on the on the city council was actually my band teacher, and she was trying to get me to actually be on the city council board, but kind of had some problems, some issues go on. So it kind of caused some ruckus within the city council. But yeah, I am in, even like my imam, my Abba, the mayor, and they real close to one that was trying to actually put back in place, because it would have been more beneficial. He actually passed, but so yeah. And then I've been in contact with those who I know who are probably running the next time, so yeah. Okay.
More Baruch?
Can, absolutely. Well, one, we have Maury Malaka, his Isha was working directly from the mayor of Portsmouth. So they were definitely in tune what was going on with that directly. Also, I just got a call the other day from a mother actually that I know, Iman, and her band is running for city council. And he wants to sit down and speak to me and some of the other leaders. So this actually was just called last week. So we're trying to put some things together, and he has a plan for the community also. So yeah, definitely working our way into those areas where we got more influence with those who either we sit in the seat or we have influence with those who sit in the seat.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay. When I was in Georgia, I was also in contact with the city council. And one thing that came up that I realized is that a lot of times us as Black leaders, we're not teaching our people how to vote. For instance, we think that we go down there and pull a lever, That's it. That's not how this is. What happens is this. We go down there and pull a lever. But are we going to the meetings? Are we supporting this candidate? For instance, let's just say you have a candidate that's going up there and he's talking about all these black issues and talking about how to change it. Are our communities and congregations putting money in the pocket so he can continue to run? Because what happens is he goes out there and he gets a donor, and the donor gives him $15,000. And the donor says, I want to give you this $15,000 based on if you take my projects first. So now we voted for this guy, but now he's obligated because they helped him give the $15,000 to stay out and stay to be able to continue to run ads, to continue to run his campaign. So yeah, he's like, thank you for your vote, but I'm obligated to him first because he is the one who really helped me stay on the scene. So are we teaching our people how this system really works? It's not just a vote. It's really backing and going to the meetings and have multiple conversations and going down there and helping him do the things that he needs to do. As leaders, are you guys doing that?
Yes. My effect, I allow the members and myself to help. You know what I'm saying? Because that's showing a good example. These are things that we talk about in order for us to be successful and to raise up the next generation of mores and imams and stuff like that in the community. So I position the people to go into those environments like myself, you know what I'm saying? Again, as sitting down, eating dinner, or going over to their house, fellowshipping, and building that relationship. It starts with a relationship. You got to build it.
Everybody agree?
Okay.
Last question. You know, the news channel I like to watch a lot is Roland Martin, right? I think the Roland Martin Uncensored, I think that he really aggressively attacks the people that he interviews, not in the sense of a negative sense, but he really gets down to a lot of minute details. So Roland Martin can call and interview various political figures. Why can't our leaders be in that position? If we're talking about bringing more change to our communities, to Dallas, to Durham, to Philly, to Baltimore, to Northern Virginia, if we're talking about bringing these changes, my brother talked about earlier about, you know, if you really get that spirit in you, why don't you become a police officer? Well, a leader, it talks about is leading by example. As leaders, are you in a position that at a drop of a dime, if something is not going on in your neighborhood, are you in position to be able to call them and say, hey, bro, this needs to be fixed now. I need to talk to somebody right now. And is that a failure of a leader to not be able to do that?
Well, let me ask the first thing with scripture. In the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6, it said, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So once more knowledge comes, then that leader of that gate, then he began to reposition himself to start working on that issue, that where he didn't have that knowledge, now he got that knowledge. Now he began to start working on that to build that relationship. So when those things happen, he will be involved in that situation.
Hallelujah. More time.
I think it's more so like you're saying, you know, just like positioning ourselves, and we need more leaders. And I'm not saying that it's none out there. We need it need to be more known, I guess, more leaders that have the mindset like we've been thinking, because you got a lot of us that's like, you know, they don't believe that we should be a part of that system or whatever, you know, so they don't think it's important or it will be beneficial to try to get in a position like that to where they can be a part of that type of panel, to have a voice, you know. So we need more leaders that understand the importance of I mean, you look at Daniel. I mean, you know, he was over the Providence. You know,
Come on. Come on.
you know. And what do you think? What law do you think he was instituting over what he was over? The same law that caused him to get put in the furnace because he wouldn't reject the ways of the Most High. So you know, we have to understand that when we get in that type of position, we have to hold fast to that which we know is righteous. You know, and understand that it is important for us to be in those situations. So, like Moray Shaya was saying, that knowledge, that's how that knowledge can get out there. Because the people who are not in this way of life don't have the knowledge that we have. But how do we reach them? We have to be in those positions. We have to be accessible, you know, and a lot of times we try to be so separated, thinking that that's the separation that Kadosh, what that means, but that's not the separation that it's referring to. We're in this land, we're in captivity. We have to do everything that we possibly can to where it can be a benefit to us. If that means being in a position to where our voice can be heard, what do we say? We always say we're trying to wake up other people, wake up our brothers and sisters. Well, how you gonna wake them up if you're not accessible? How you gonna teach them righteousness if you're not accessible? If you don't think it's important to be a part of, because well, that's the system. You know how you know we're supposed to be separated from the system. And we're not supposed to live as the system, but we can't be separated from the system because we're a part of this country. So it's impossible to be separated from the system.
Come
If
on,
you
Maury.
separate from the system, you got to stop going to Walmart. You got to stop going to the hospital. You got to stop. You know, I mean, you can't separate from the system because you're in this country. You got to leave to separate. If you're here, you need to make your voice be heard and make this righteousness that we're saying that we have access to. We got to make it accessible to everybody else because, like one of the brothers said at the beginning, we're supposed to be here to show the world how we're supposed to live. Not just Israel. It's one Torah for the stranger and for the native born.
Yeah. Hallelujah. Well said.
We got to be accessible. We got to be accessible. We got to be accessible.
I definitely agree with that. You know what? When you was talking about Daniel, I actually went to the first chapter of Daniel, and when he had those brothers, he was looking for the brothers. It says that the king, and this is just a different version. The king spoke to Ashpenaz, his chief priest, chief officer, that he should bring in certain children of Israel and of the royal seed of the nobles, youths in whom have no blemish, but fair to look on, and skillful in all wisdom, skillful in knowledge, and discerning in thought, and such as had ability to stand in the king's palace, and that he should teach them the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed for them a daily portion of the king's food and of the wine which he drank, and that they should be nourished 3 years, and that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Now I only I really was tackling the first part where even when you're dealing with your oppressors, they don't respect ignorance. They don't respect stupidity. They don't respect irrationality or illogicalness. They respect somebody who can think, somebody that they can say, okay, well, let's barter, let's trade, let's bounce ideas, so that way your kingdom can flourish and my kingdom can flourish. You can't be in another man's kingdom and think that you're about to just, we're about to just run. No, that's the whole idea of when the Most High said, when you go into this land, just kick them, get rid of them. Get rid of them, because the whole idea of war is these two different nations, you're not going to come together and sing kumbaya together. That's a fantasy. That's a misnomer. You have to be the one to say, you know what, we are the king. Y'all got to go. You're not going to be able to come together in this. So the whole idea, let's just come and do this stuff together. You have to have the brains to come to the table. They're not going to invite you to come to the table if you show that you don't have the brains. And I said that to say the whole thought process of we don't believe in being a part of this system. I think that is a failure, and that thinking has to be in the past. That has to be the old time Israelites, and that can't be moving forward, because moving forward, we do have to have people in high places so our voices can be heard. So no longer we have to burn down the target. Now we can say, you know what, we have the ability to say, I veto that law. I'm going to pass this law. When you're able to do that, then now you're more respected on the international stage. So that way, when you go on the international stage, you have somebody has some kind of on a resume, say, what's your resume, bro? What have you done in there? So I need to respect you. Right. So I agree with everything you said, man. You broke that down. Wonderful, man. Hallelujah, man.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
So if that's it, man, I just would like to thank y'all brothers, man, for joining in. I know this is a little bit longer than I thought. I actually had a few more things like white people in policing, health, education, but I'm gonna save that to maybe another time, man, because I definitely want to spend some time with my children after working a long day, man. So I just want to say again, appreciate y'all, man. I love y'all. Y'all stay safe, man. And shalom.
Shalom.
Love
You, man.
All right.
Everybody. Love y'all, man. Shalom.
You too. All right, shalom.